Hello people at Shiyang Fa. This is the way we adjust the bag for hangings. This is a sample of 1 1/4 inch mesh that we've already sewn on the waterline here at 1.25 meters down, and see it down here on the floor. So that's sewn on by machine, and then we measured along that waterline with a tape measure very tight, and I'll send photos to show this. We measured, just as an example here, 6.1 meters to be half of the length, and we also marked it at halfway at 3.05 meters. So when we measured this rope tight from one end to the other at 6.1, that was on the water line. And then we drew lines from these marks. This is 6.1 meters. We drew a line up to the very top edge of the netting, and then we mark that, and we did the same at the other end, which is actually the edge of the netting. So it doesn't really matter. It starts there. Anyway, then with this top line rope here, we measured, first we measured the netting, how much actual netting was in between those two marks. So when we measured that, with the bag that the machine put in, we got 6.35 meters, which is approximately 3% that the machine put in. So then we took the rope for the top line, which is pre-measured at 6.1 meters to this mark here where we've tied it. And we tied it into this point and at the far end. And then we even tacked the halfway rib in between. So this is the bag we get in between at 3%. So now we would put the rib in, and then we could sew the hangings, and I'll send that in a separate video. But Deb now is going to show you how she does the ribs and the loops with the rib. And we're using 16 millimeter rope. At first she measures 80 centimeters for the splice, and then she measures another 80 centimeters for the loop, and then she has measured 1.25 meters, which is the length of the jump fence, and then another 80 centimeters for the loop at the waterline, and then the remainder will be the depth below the waterline, 14 meters, plus a couple extra for what the machine will eat. So to begin with, Deb has passed the rope through the waterline here, through a single strand of the rope. I think you guys know this is the Norwegian style loop, and she's run this to the bottom of her the jump fence, the waterline loop. This is the bottom edge of the 1.25 meter distance. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she is coming back in underneath the rope, and there's that right beside it.
Yeah, the one right beside it. Just not always.
You go ahead and talk if you want.
Why, thank you,
They
George.
won't understand it.
Of course, it doesn't want to go through when I want it.
Mr. Chen. So she's pulling it back to the mark. Nope. So see what you got there for a second. So she's come back through that mark that was at the bottom of the jump fence section, and she's tucked that loop in. Okay. And with the other end that would be heading toward the top end of the rib, she comes back under the other side of the rope, through the mesh, pulling it out, and putting it back in underneath the little hole that it's made in there. So that's the top of the loop, the 80 centimeter loop there. She's tightening everything up.
Comes out the other side.
And the 80 centimeter sits at the other side?
Yeah.
Okay. So the red mark, you should stop and point them out.
Okay.
So that this is the upper half of the jump fence here. She has the 80 centimeter mark. Okay. And the other one will get tighter, and that other loop disappears. That other on the other side. So it's a matter of pulling the other. So then, then we have this Norwegian style loop, and it's all tacked in there, and then she's headed up to the next section. So this would be to the top of the jump fence. We have, these are just tacked in with a couple of clove hitches on each side of a mark. And then we'll just slack the rope a bit so she can split it and get the tail of the rib in there.
So that's a 3.5.
Okay, halfway mark. Past the 80 centimeter splice mark to the 80 centimeter loop mark. So the distance between the two is the jump fence section, 1.25 meters. You can see the bit of bag in there. Looks good. Okay. She's gone through it again and coming back through the other side like the first one. And then she twists and opens the mark, takes the loop with the rope, pushes it through, pulling it tight. And again with the tail, she's going through, okay, going through the mesh again.
But this one I come from the back,
This one, the last one, comes through the back side of the knot.
so I can splice on the front.
Yeah, so both the tail and the one on side on the jump fence is going to be spliced on the right side. Both on the same side of the mesh, so it can be spliced closed.
Once again, my red mark.
So the red marks are lined up again. The
Are
red
lined
mark
up.
down there on the water at the top line. And the other one is in there. Okay. Hopefully, again, this is the Norwegian knot style. You guys know what you're doing. I see you don't make your top lines this way, but it's not a bad way. It works pretty good. Then we're just going to splice that rope onto there and close it up. That's it for now. I'll give you another video after.